Hey guys, I'm here. I've had a few. It's time for some game theory. Um, I'm just. I honestly wanted to do a solo chapter tonight, and I tried to record it, and I was like, this is fucking too dark and too stupid, and so I just fucking threw it away. And I decided that since I still have feelings that I've wanted to get out there, I would just yell at Periscope for a while. So that's what I'm gonna do instead. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how today's actions made me feel a sense of deep despair and hopelessness that hopefully will not be consist like will hopefully not last eternally. Hopefully, I can get over them, but they're certainly strong right now. I mean, there's nothing like watching elected officials just walk forward and say boldly, I will vote to destroy my fellow citizens with no fear of repercussions because, hey, what are you fucking retards going to do? You know? And it's true. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And that's what was so horrifying about seeing those dipshit fucking Democrats dancing and twerking at the prospect of these guys losing their seats. That's how it works. How there's some sort of balance that happens where they go, "You will be smited for your sins." No, there's no fucking God in this world. We live in the God is dead. We live in the fucking carcass of a rotting God, and that means that these guys can do whatever they want because look at Wisconsin and Kansas. These are two states that have basically been destroyed by Republican governance over the last decade, annihilated. Look at Wisconsin's economic performance, standard of living, all that stuff, cratered. But Scott Walker could run. He would be He will be governor forever if he wants to. They don't have term limits in Wisconsin. Uh, uh, Tommy Thompson was governor for 16 years, and Scott Walker could be governor for eternity if he wanted to, because the idea that people respond to worsening conditions by appropriately recognizing the person responsible and then punishing them is some West Wing bullshit. What people do when they're immiserated and their conditions worsen is that they find some outgroup that they already hate to blame. And then the rest of the people who are also immiserated, who don't have those sort of pre-wired emotional negative responses to outgroups or who are members of that group, stop voting completely. And that's what you see over and over again, is that these guys are going to rule forever if they want to. I have put a standing bet out there on fucking social media. I will bet $100 that in 2018, after the midterms, that the Republicans still hold the House of Representatives. I'm absolutely positive. You want to bet me $100? I'll bet you $100 that no matter what happens over the next year, that in 2018 the Republicans will hold on to the House because they've gerrymandered it. They've got voter suppression things in many of the states where there might be otherwise contestable races. So they're going to fucking win. They're going to win forever. They'll never be defeated. Because we live in a country that is dominated by resentment and mutual distrust that has annihilated any attempts over and over again to create solidarity. Because we are Pringles in a tube. Marx said in the 18th Brumaire, talking about the French peasantry that ratified Louis Napoleon's coup in 1851, that they were potatoes in a sack. You put them all together, they do not become something else by virtue of their being brought together in voting. They are just potatoes. That's us, only we're fucking Pringles because we are in a hell broth of postmodern machinations and media manipulation, and that's what rules our lives, are these media fucking streams. And so we do not create solidarity. We do not realize our mutual exploitation. We fucking resent each other. We resent each other, not the people who put us in this position of being put to extremis, of being hyper exploited. We decide that they are our enemy because they're different than us. So the idea that that's not going to be the same thing, that's not going to also be true in 2018, why? Especially since the Democrats have decided that they will not offer an alternative. They will not offer an alternative. They have steadfast in that. What did Nancy Pelosi say? She said, we're no way in hell we're going to fucking support single payer in 2018. We're going to argue in favor of the ACA, a thing that nobody liked. So your choices in 2018 are going to be the party of the awful thing or the party of the other awful thing. And then what's going to break the tie? What's going to break the tie is how much you hate your neighbor. And the people who don't really hate their neighbor aren't even going to bother to vote. And the people who do hate their neighbor are going to vote Republican. Like every scumbag who has said, like every monster who has shown themselves to be a just absolute piece of shit. Like that motherfucker who talked about how Warren Davison, one county over from me in John Boehner's old district, who talked about how, hey, if you got bad health coverage, you should get a better job. That guy is going to be in office for the rest of his life. He will be out of office only if he decides to run for something else or if he quits. That motherfucker Mo Brooks, who said that pre-existing conditions are basically the mark of Cain, he will be in office until he dies. It's true of all of these motherfuckers. Because we live in a country that has been divided so thoroughly by obviously at the basic level by race and by gender and all of those hierarchies that were offered to people in the 19th century that have been eagerly taken up, but then by all of the channels of media that have been created since that point that reinforce those differences. Like all those differences at every level are being reinforced by everything that everybody consumes every day of their lives. Like the music they listen to, the shows they watch, they're all coded in a way that denies solidarity and that encourages the idea that you are basically a besieged minority being exploited by an other. And that other is never the capitalist class. It's always somebody else who is as hard up with you as you are or worse. So like I said, today I honestly feel like Howard Beale. You know, I feel like Howard Beale, after he talks to Ned Beatty, after Ned Beatty says to him, you know, you have meddled with the cosmic forces of nature. There is a holistic system of systems. And then sends him off to preach the evangel of hopelessness and dehumanization. And what happens? His ratings go down because nobody wants to hear that shit. I'm worried that I'm going to take this to the pod and then Will and Felix and those guys are going to hire the Ecumenical Liberation Army to kill me because I'm costing them Patreon subscribers. Because the thing is, we have to have something else. We have to find an alternative. But I don't fucking know what it is. I can't think of it. I don't know. And that's the hardest thing to say when your job is to get on the internet and tell people what you think, is that you don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to overcome these differences. There was an article about Wolfgang Schreck about Trump and Trumpism, basically, and he talks about It talks about like the phenomenon of right populism in the West and what feeds it. And one thing he points out that's hard to argue with is that basically neoliberalism and cosmopolitanism have been wedded since they came into birthing at the same time, and they are inextricably linked. And so what happens is that as like bonds of community are being dissolved across the West by the market and by the need for like transnational structures and transnational labor forces and all that stuff. But those communities were basically bonds of racial solidarity. And racial solidarity is the enemy of class solidarity. And there's never been in the West, since World War II, a cosmopolitanism that has been meaningfully wedded to economic egalitarianism. And so we're left in a situation where your choices are basically diversity, in quotation marks, and the sort of globalism that leads to your personal immiseration or retreat to the community, which is inward looking and distrustful and racially coded. Like, those are your only two options. Like, what is the alternative? There hasn't been one offered. It's going to have to be fully birthed and new. And that is what we need, is basically something new. And I don't fucking know what it is. I don't know how to do it. I want to know. I want to have an idea, but I mean, I've read stuff, people trying to grapple with this, and it always ends up, to me, feeling like hand-waving. You're hand-waving over problems. And there's no real, like, step-by-step solution to them. And that makes me feel just a deep, bone-deep horror. And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, acceleration to what, though? Like, that's the thing about accelerationism. Like, that's the thing, like, you want your Nick Land, somebody said Nick Land accelerationism, this thing where we just let capitalism do what it does until humanity has been destroyed, until there is no humanity, until there's only servants of an algorithm. That sounds horrible to me, and I don't want that. So fuck that, fuck Nick Land, fuck red accelerationism. It has to be something else. It has to be something that is going to be, I don't know, something new. And I don't know what's going to make it, but it's not going to be, it's going to come out of lived experience, I guess. That's all I can say. It's going to be out of lived experience and people improvising. And that's like an absolute fucking passing of the buck. But like, I'm just some fucking asshole in Ohio. I don't know. I'm gonna pass the buck. Fuck you. I don't have any other fucking thing to do. Anyway, anyone wants to ask me questions, I'm listening. Yeah, Naxalites, real dudes, man. The Naxalites are hardcore. Hashtag respect to the Naxalites. I'm drinking gin and 7-Up. I can't, come on. Every time I do this, somebody wants to talk about fucking climate change. Do you want me to fucking kill myself? Honestly. Do you want me to kill myself? No, the Democrats have to be destroyed. The Democrats are doomed one way or the other. It's like the ship of Theseus. Like, if the Democrats if there is a Democratic Party in a decade or in a generation, and we're still here, it's not going to be the Democratic Party. Basically, it's going to have been a vessel that was hollowed out and overtaken by something else. Maybe not. Like, they could be, like, those are the two options. They will either be consumed and hollowed out and refilled with something else, at which point you can say, are they even the Democrats? Or they're going to be the Whigs. Those are the only two options. The Democrats are, and they're dead. They're the dead end of history. There is nothing there. They are done for. The Democrats are finished, one way or the other. And the question of whether, like, there's a thing called the Democrats that means something else, or they have been superseded by a third force, the way the Whigs were, that is a question that only history can answer. I don't know who that is. I don't know who Drew Fairweather is. Who the fuck's that? I think in the fall we're going to come to the West Coast. That's the whole idea. Yeah, ketchup on scrambled eggs is good. If you don't like that, fuck off. I mean, like, I would like to do more shows with Amber, but like doing stuff over the when I'm in New York, I would like to resuscitate Frost Nixon or Frost Christman. I think that'd be good. People keep saying I should run for office. What am I going to run on? Like, I'm fucking fail son with no fucking resume, who has spent the last year yelling into the goddamn internet. I mean, come on. And I'm not going to run as a Democrat. Fuck that. But I'm not going to run as some dipshit, like vanity third party candidate either. So fuck that. Anime is bad. I think gaming is worse. Gaming is worse than anime just because it's more widespread in the West. It's more corrosive just because it's more popular. Bernie is done. Come on, let's move on. Bernie served his purpose. Bernie is the fucking is the wrist bones on the he's the transitional fossil. The wrist bones on the fucking creatures, that were like halfway between sea creatures and the land ones who became humans. That's move on. I know that's hard to say because there's nobody on the bench, and American politics is very much obsessed with personalities, but there needs to be a serious effort to create new leaders because, Bernie has served his purpose. He's a New Deal Democrat at the end of the day, and that is insufficient. Zuckerberg, if he runs against Booker and maybe Kristen Gillibrand, he's gonna have more money than any of them because he can fucking self-fund, and he's got huge name recognition. Yeah, why not? He could totally get the nomination 2020. Absolutely. Yep. When you zuck and she keeps zucking. Tossa Galbert is a weirdo. Fuck her. She's a fucking BPJ. She's a fucking Hindu nationalist. Whoa. Come on. Get over that. I don't know. Maybe Zucker. I don't know. Who cares? What? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. None of it matters. We're fucking. We basically we're on a fucking cruise ship where the captain has lashed the fucking the steering wheel to direct contact with an iceberg, and then he fucking shot himself. Small business is bullshit. They're fucking. People talk about how, small business is the backbone of American employment. Yeah, they're the backbone of American exploitation. They're fucking petty tyrants. Fuck small business owners. I don't know. Point of no return. I am fucking Schrodinger's cat. I am in the box, and I vacillate back and forth between feeling like there's no hope and feeling like maybe we can turn it around. And I don't know. I don't have enough of. I don't know. I'm just some asshole in Ohio. I don't know, one way or the other. Yeah, black pill, no, but I don't know. I can never. I could never. Because the thing about black pill is, at a certain point, you're basically deciding that human life is hilarious to destroy it, but I don't think that. I think that the loss of human life is awful, so I could never be a black pill guy. I am going to move to New York, and like I said, that's when I'm there, we'll be able to do a lot more stuff. Like, I would like to do, once in a while, to do a Frost Christman, like go over to Amber's or have her come over to my place and do something, which is a lot easier when you live in the same place than it is when you gotta fucking go over the piece of shit internet and call people. With my fucking tin can awful... I have a goddamn Yeti. I have a Yeti, which is one of the best microphones, and yet motherfuckers not only say I sound like I'm on a tin can, I read people saying, oh, he should really record himself and not just be recorded remotely. I do record myself, you motherfuckers. I don't know what to do. I have no idea how to make it sound better, so fuck off. I'm going to be there in a few months, and then everything will sound good, so shut the fuck up. I do record it locally, motherfuckers. That's what I do. And yet it's not good enough. And I don't know how to make it better because I'm a technological idiot. I don't know what that means. I don't know what compression or EQ is. I don't know anything about the internet. I don't know anything about technology. I'm a dipshit. I took one coding class in high school, and it made me so mad that I vowed never to learn anything about online for the rest of my life, and I haven't. Yeah, I have a terrible voice. That is unarguable. Somebody said I sounded like one of the aliens on Mars Attacks, and that is 100% correct. Nasal and unpleasant. See, that's the thing. Like, somebody said the Jacksonville mayor. Yeah, like, his dad was good, and then he died. I guess a heart attack. I don't know how he died. Now his son is in charge. Great. How are you supposed to make any changes at the local level when you have the fucking power, the fucking mechanism of exploitation just squeezing everybody? How are you supposed to fight against that? Local governments, they have very little leeway. They can't really borrow money. They don't have the power of the state. You need state power in order to liberate people. DSA isn't anything yet. DSA is a inchoate being. Like, this is the thing. People demanding shit of DSA. They have 20,000 members. They're the biggest socialist organization in America, but they have 20,000 members in a nation of 250,000 people, or 325,000 people. 3 million, no, not 3 million, 325 million people, 20,000 people. The idea that they could make any demands of anything is absurd at this level. They have to be a member. There were 1 million people in the Socialist Party at the turn of the 20th century. Over 1 million. You need to be talking about that level of support before you can talk about any kind of meaningful alteration of the political landscape. These motherfuckers, everybody wants to skip the steps. Everybody wants to jump over the steps because they fucking game. And they're like, well, Oh, I played Mario, and if you're on the first level of Mario, you go through the sewer and you jump over the thing, and you can get to the final level. This isn't Mario, motherfuckers. This is real life. You have to grind through every level, and that is where we are. We're still grinding through every goddamn level. Fuck that guy. Sam Hyde sucks. I never thought he was funny. Yeah, the Greens are a bunch of fucking recumbent bike dipshits. They're a bunch of granola college professors. Like that, the Green Party is entirely tenured assholes who go to farmers markets. It's not a movement. It means nothing. Fuck it. Ossoff sucks. I'd like him to win over his opponent, but he sucks. Yeah, see, this could be DSA. This is the best quote I've seen. DSA. I don't want to say it. I don't even want to say it because maybe people will stop listening to the show and just kill themselves. But DSA could be something, but we don't have enough time. At a basic level, I think that's true. We don't have enough time. We have environmental factors that are basically totally unprecedented in the history of political movements or of anything. And we talk about politics in the time scales of the past, but we live in hyperspeed. And we are not equipped to understand the world in hyperspeed. We only understand the world in the sort of episodic, slow boring of hard boards, as Max Weber said, that comes from previous generations. Previous generations who did not have a fucking ticking time clock. And we have a time clock. But nobody wants to acknowledge that. Nobody wants to really grapple with what it means to have a fucking timer running. But we do. We have a timer. And it's running out. And there's nothing to be done about that. So that's why the nihilism, the absolute nihilism of the alt-right is so appealing to so many, because in that it's like, okay, yeah, we might be at the point of no return, but a world where I am, manning a fucking Gatling gun in front of a barbed wire fence in front of my, all-white commune is a world where I can get behind, because it allows me to ratify an outmoded notion of masculinity that I still cling to. Iran is certainly better than Saudi Arabia. I mean, if we're going to pick sides in the great Middle Eastern war, switch. Saudi Arabia is awful. Come on. It's terrible. I tried to do this is why I'm doing this, because I tried to do a solo episode. I wanted to talk about the fucking AHCA vote, but like all I could think of is because the history thing is good and I like history, labor, radical history, but like every goddamn thing I could think of ended in absolute failure. Eric Thames rules. Everything ended in failure, so I was like, God damn it. I'm undermining my own point every time I try to talk about any of this stuff. Like I was trying to talk about the Pullman strike, and it's like, well, good things came of the Pullman strike. What was the big one? The fucking Labor Day, which was an explicit attempt to undermine May Day and de-radicalize labor in America. Woohoo! Awesome. So I'm like, fuck, I'm not even doing this right. So I killed it, and I decided to just yell at Periscope instead. The thing they passed won't pass the Senate, but they might pass something awful. Who knows? I don't know. Nothing's... You see, the country with 500 million guns, but the thing is, the number of people who actually own guns is actually declining. Fewer people own guns now than they have in many years, but there are more guns. They're all owned by the same people. All the people who own guns are reactionary nutcases. Like, guns are owned by the most revanchist shitheads in America. Those are the only people who own guns, basically, like own guns, plural, in America, are the worst people in this country. The most dedicated racial shitheads own guns in this country. Then the whole gun thing, like, oh, leftists should buy guns or whatever. I mean, America is so geographically divided ideologically at this point. Any kind of breakdown would not be like one part taking over another part. It would be what fucking Schlichter talks about in his awful book. It would be breaking up into regions. Like, that's what would happen. We would not have some sort of like you'd have the revanchist middle breaking away from the godless coasts. Like, that is what would happen. He's right about that. Mr. Show, hell yeah, Operation Hell on Earth. It's gonna happen. Soon, you're a balloon. I would do that. I would blast Caribbean Queen from my van. Sure, I'll officiate any wedding. I don't have the thing, but I could get it pretty quickly. I mean, as long as I don't have to pay for my travel, obviously. But I will officiate any wedding that anybody wants if they pay for my travel, room and board. And obviously, free drinks at the wedding. That goes without saying. Can I do the splits? I'm the least flexible person on earth. I can't even touch my toes. I'm a disaster. I'm a physical disaster, which is why it's so terrifying to think about the coming unraveling, because I would die immediately. I'm dead. If it's a movie, I'm dead in the first reel. I'm dead before the credits. Oh, the limp. I had a back injury. That's amazing that somebody recognized that. I don't know I don't know how you know about the limp. I mean, I'm assuming you saw me in person. Otherwise, I don't know how you found out about my limp. Seeing Like a State is a great book. I recommend it to everybody. It's really good to think about when you think about, like, if there is some sort of post-capitalist world, how it should be organized. Seeing Like a State is a great thing to keep in mind. But I had a spinal injury when I was like 19 that like fucked me up forever. So that's why I limp all the time. I am an absolute disaster physically. I am no good. That's why the idea of living in some sort of post-apocalyptic hellscape does not hold any appeal to me, because I know I would die immediately. Because I'm a limping fat dipshit. I'm curious how you know about the limp. I went 30 years without doing psychedelics because I'm a fucking nerd. Because I don't know anyone who has drugs. I've done shrooms. They're awesome. I hope to do acid in the near future. I haven't done acid yet, as I said, but I hope to do. The Treat Boy video. Yeah, I'm gimping around like crazy in that. Yeah, that explains it. I've done shrooms. Anybody has any, mail them to me. Fucking DM me and I will give you my address, because they're awesome and I have no fucking idea how to get any more. Shrooms rule. No, the Street Fight guys don't have any. New MST3 is okay. I can't really watch it. The internet has ruined my attention span, basically, for TV shows. I'm reading a bunch of books. I'm reading David Harvey's book about the 13 contradictions in capitalism. I'm reading Jacob Bacharach's novel. I'm reading George Saunders' new novel. I'm reading Judith Stein's book about the 70s. Yeah. I've only read Crying of Lot 39 or 49 from Pynchon. I've tried to read Gravity's Rainbow a few times and Against the Day, but man, he is difficult. I think it'd be kind of funny to go on Rogan, because he seems like he's like an open-minded moron, which is an interesting combination, you know? Like, so many morons are really set in their ways. I would kind of like to see sort of press against the limits of his open-mindedness and towards his idiocy. But I mean, he is a dumbass. I'm not good enough at math to do Das Kapital for the 21st century. Sorry. I understand the tanky impulse. I mean, like I said, like we're in this like inextricable sort of death march that doesn't seem to have any end. And so the lure of radical break, the lure of the idea of a radical break, like a vanguard party just punching through this deadlock and reasserting class prerogatives is really, really powerful. But it is a fantasy. Thank you for telling me I could be a fat guy on Mad Men. Fuck you. Breaking Bad I enjoyed way more than Mad Men. Mad Men, I agree with Felix. It's boring bullshit. No, Assad's fine. He's got the Russians. He's not going anywhere. I like Contra a lot when I played that as a kid on Nintendo. Only with unlimited lives though. Up, up, down, down, left, BA, BA, start. I am incredibly blind. My glass strength is like a million. I am deeply, deeply fucking blind. Like if I can't see anything without my glasses. Another reason that I am an absolutely useless dipshit in any kind of post-apocalyptic world. As soon as my glasses get broken, I'm fucked. No, I limp all the time. Everybody thinks CIA psyop because they feel powerless. It makes sense. Everybody feels powerless. They want a narrative that can explain their lack of agency. And the TCOT shitheads have it. It's libs. The fucking Pepes have it. It's Jews. The tankies have it. It's the CIA, NATO, whatever. House of Cards is actually interesting, and I think we could do a show about it because it really is the mirror image of the West Wing in that its cynicism is just as vacuous and shitheaded as the West Wing's idealism is. It really is an uncanny mirror image of the West Wing. I think we will do an episode of the newsroom. What we want to do, because there's only 3 seasons, is we want to watch all the episodes together and then do a show after we've watched them. I don't listen to that many podcasts, obviously. The Dollop, obviously, because I've been on it and I'm a fan of those guys. I listen to that show. Age of Napoleon is really good, and I'm looking forward to whatever it does with that. Revolutions with Mike Duncan, even though he's a shit lib. That's kind of it. I have listened to, people asked about Comedy Bang Bang. I've listened to it in the past, but now I don't really listen to it. Macron will probably win. I mean, There's sort of a cheeky reason to pick her, because it really does feel like they're reenacting our election. But his poll lead is way bigger than Hillary's ever was. Like even at Hillary's height, she had like maybe a 15-point lead. He's got double that, so he'll probably still win. But after 5 years of him being a fucking worthless centrist shill, maybe she wins then. She should cut down on the smoking. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Trump won, but only because we have the idiotic, um, you know, antiquity that is the Electoral College. The French don't have that shit. Corbin or Meg, come on, fuck off. Corbin. Best Giamatti movie is Shoot 'em Up. See, here's the thing about the libs. They're not win over. You're never going to win over the libs because they have vested interests in maintaining the status quo. Basically, you have to present them with a choice. You have to present them with a choice where they have to either pick the knuckle draggers or the progressives. They have to redefine progressive to mean socialist. And their self-conception as progressive is so powerfully ingrained that if you have the power and their base of support has been destroyed, they will go with you because they don't want to be the knuckle-dragging reactionaries, even if they don't agree with you, even if they don't agree with socialism. You're never going to get them on the merits, though. You're never going to talk them into it because they have a vested economic interest in neoliberalism. Corbyn will probably lose. Hopefully not by as much as people were saying. Because if he loses closely, if he loses by less than Miliband lost by, then they won't be able to oust him as leader. But he's probably not going to win. He's got too much real estate to make up in too short a time. Because they don't have million-year elections like we do here. Marx is the best philosopher. Come on. I'll admit that I've never actually read Society of the Spectacle, but I feel like it's pretty germane from what I know about it. It seems very, very germane to our current situation. The anarcho-primitists, they just, come on, fuck those guys. I mean, what is that? What do you want? You want to drag a woman by her hair into your cave like a fucking caveman? Fuck you. I have not listened to Hellbent. I bet it's amazing. Yeah, it's just Fight Club. Come on, fuck off. I'm pretty drunk. Best Simpsons Halloween is, I think it's the 7th season, maybe, but whichever one has the shitting. Although one of the best jokes ever in the history of The Simpsons is in, I think it's the 4th season's Halloween episode. The King Homer, the King Kong episode, where the guys are getting ready to go to capture Homer, who is King Kong, and Lenny and Carl are on the boat, and they say, "We're going to Ape Island to capture a giant ape." And Lenny says, "I wish we were going to Candy Apple Island." And Carl says, "Candy Apple Island, what do they have there?" Carl says, "Apes, but they're not so big." That is a perfect joke. That is a perfect joke. Apes, but they're not so big. Rivaled only by the joke from Homer the Vigilante, where Lisa says to Homer, "If you're the police, who will police the police?" And he says, "I don't know, the Coast Guard?" Perfect jokes. We'll do another RPG. That's another thing that'll be easier when I'm in New York. You don't want to do that one over the phone. Yeah, I like The Wire. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna go soon. My voice is going out, and I'm kind of drunk, but I want to leave on a note of optimism because I've been pretty doom and gloom and nightmarish this whole thing, and I think that the way to break the sort of the conflict between like community and localism and global capitalism is just if people could just recognize their common struggle and their common exploitation. That's very old school, but I think it's still the fact is that even though we've all been siloed into these identities that are predicated upon mass culture and consumption and then internet subculture, that we can still find a solidarity in our exploitation that we can use to redefine community across tribal lines and against power centers. So that is my hope, is that we can do that. So I hope everybody can do whatever the small thing in their own lives that they can think of to make that happen. So good luck.